Welcome to the Snips Media, a quiet space for timeless wisdom. Here, we explore the ideas, teachings, and inner truths that have guided humanity across centuries, not to tell you what to think, but to invite you to reflect. Today, we turn our attention to Carl Jung. Most people believe they are searching for themselves. Carl Jung believed something very different. He believed that most people are not lost at all. They are simply living through a mask they mistook for who they are. Jung called this mask the persona. The persona is the version of you that learned how to belong. It's who you became to be accepted, who you became to be successful, who you became to survive. It's not fake, it's functional. But over time, something subtle happens. You begin to identify with the mask, and the longer you wear it, the more distant you feel from yourself. This is where confusion begins, not because you don't have an identity, but because you're clinging to one that was never meant to be permanent. Jung believed the persona is necessary. We need it to move through the world, to work, to relate, to participate. The problem isn't the mask itself. The problem is forgetting that it's a mask. When your job becomes your identity, when your role becomes your worth, when your image becomes your sense of self, life starts to feel strangely hollow. You may look successful, put together, functional, yet inwardly something feels off, disconnected, flat. Jung would say this is the soul asking for space. Beneath the persona is what Jung called the self, not the ego, not the personality. The self is quieter than that, wider than that. It isn't something you create, it's something you remember. The self doesn't need to perform, it doesn't need approval, it doesn't need to be impressive. It simply is. But here's the difficult part. You don't reach the self by improving the persona. You don't reach it by becoming more optimized, more productive, or more admired. You reach it by loosening your grip. Jung believed much of modern suffering comes from over-identification, from mistaking the surface for the depth. When people say they feel lost, what they often mean is this: the life I built no longer feels like me. And Jung would respond gently, it was never meant to. This doesn't mean abandoning your life. It doesn't mean rejecting responsibility. It means creating inner distance from the roles you play. You are not your title. You are not your productivity. You are not the version of yourself that performs well for others. Those are expressions, not essence. Jung also spoke about something he called individuation. Not becoming special, not becoming unique in a performative way, but becoming whole. Individuation is the slow process of integrating all parts of yourself, the parts you show and the parts you hide, especially the parts you were taught to suppress, the shadow, not darkness in a dramatic sense, but unacknowledged truth, unlived instincts, unexpressed creativity, unspoken needs. When these parts are ignored, they don't disappear. They leak out as anxiety, irritation, emptiness, a constant sense that something is missing. Jung believed wholeness doesn't come from adding more to your life, but from reclaiming what was left behind. And this isn't something that happens quickly. There is no shortcut. The self doesn't respond to force. It responds to honesty, moments of quiet reflection, listening without immediately fixing, allowing yourself to not know who you are for a while. This uncertainty is not failure, it's a threshold. Jung believed that many people turn away right here because not knowing feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is often the doorway. You don't need a new identity. You don't need a clearer label. You don't need to find yourself in the way the world suggests. You need space. Space between who you are and who you've been trying to be. When that space opens, something settles. You begin to act less from image and more from inner alignment, less from obligation, more from quiet truth. And life doesn't suddenly become easy, but it becomes real. Carl Jung once said, Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Not awakening as an achievement, but as a remembering. You were never missing. You were just buried beneath the mask, and the work is not to destroy it, but to finally see beyond it.